Okay. Itamix Ganatoni. Good morning. It is fairly early in the AM, about 8 o'clock or so. Not even 8 o'clock, maybe 7:30. On Saturday, April 10th, 2020, in the lunar cycle Saaki. So, speaking of ducks, kind of looking at what we have out here. As I walked in, I could hear them hooting. Yeah, there goes one just now. These are American widgeons here. Yeah, hear them? Yeah, those are widgeons out there. Sorry, it's so shaky. I'm trying my phone on a stick for this morning. You can really hear those widgeons, eh? Yeah, I figured I'd get out and do a little live dawn patrol today because my data rolled over and I have the ability to do it. Might be able to do something like this a few times a month. Snowy this morning, obviously. Here at Spopikami, there are mother geese sit in their nests diligently in the freeze. And this is pretty typical of every year around this time. There's always some final snowstorms while the geese are sitting in their nests. You can hear those widgeons in the background. They won't stay here at the pond for the summer. They just kind of pass through at the beginning and end of the season. We do have some nest in the region. Like there's even some that nest on the blood reserve, but for whatever reason they don't like to stay at the pond. I should try to sort that out, what it is about this place that doesn't fit their preferences. Oh, they're headed out now, or just headed to the north end of the pond. Yeah, they're gonna land right away again. Yeah, it's pretty cold here. It's not that bad. It's maybe 3 degrees below zero, 3 or 4 degrees below zero Celsius. So I don't know what that would be Fahrenheit, maybe 28 degrees, something like that, 27. Not too bad. See no indication on the beaver lodge or the scent mound that any of the beavers had climbed up out of the water overnight. Thank you, Tilly. Happy Easter to you and everybody else too. I hear a hawk somewhere abouts. Oh, it might be, no, there is a hawk. There's one. I was gonna say it might be a starling masquerading as a hawk, but no, there's actually one back in there. Where'd he go? There he is. He's coming out into coulee view. Oh, and it's looking like a red-tailed hawk. Nobody wants to fly far this morning. Oh, is there a second one? Or is that just the first? I think maybe a second one came to join it. You can see the one from here. Huh. It'd be cool if the hawks took up residence again. Out across the pond here, those trees pretty much straight across, the largest tree you can see there usually hosts a Swanson's hawk nest, but maybe the last, I'd say 3 years, they've opted to nest elsewhere. Maybe a little bit more than that. I think they've been nesting up on a tree halfway along Bridge Drive, which is the old highway that goes up into the coulees here, leads to the west side of Lethbridge. Not much for prints in the snow as yet. Not even so much as a vole or a rabbit. Looks like there might be. Yeah, those are golden eyes. Common golden eyes. Somebody was commenting about what reminds me of Wyoming on the Platte River. This comes from Tilly. Yeah, it is much like Wyoming here. Wyoming, the Dakotas, Montana, Alberta. It's all kind of got a similar flavor to it. It's the high plains, eh? There's another goldeneye over there. It's landing even closer to our shore. Maybe we'll have a look at him if he doesn't take off. No, he's taking off. A couple of mallards here closer to shore. Not likely to see any turtles surface in today, but it's always a possible. Goose couple right over here. It looks as though somebody is nested on the island where I put that wreath. Golden eyes are right there. Yeah, it looks like somebody's sitting a nest up there. Question is she using the wreath? Have to bring my waders to find out. Yeah, these golden eyes are chasing each other around a bit. There's just snow on these geese's back. Yeah, so Chelsea's home today. She's got the day off, so I get a little bit of a reprieve from the babysitting. Although I'm gonna color some eggs with them this afternoon with the kids. Maybe go on another hike if they're really interested. Glad things cooled down here, because earlier in the week it was getting pretty warm, and that was prompting more and more people to come outside. And since, you know, a lot of the regular recreational parks are closed, everybody was coming to the coulee parks, and they weren't keeping the social distance and stuff. And it freaks me out, because I think next thing the city's gonna feel compelled to close these coulee parks, and that would just be a shame, you know. But with this cold, just push everybody back indoors. My coulee parks will remain open for this next few days anyway. I think we got some juncos here. Is that anything? That just might be oh yeah, that's a low one. They've all come into this bush over here. Dark-eyed juncos. There is a Blackfoot name for these guys. They have to do with their dark heads. I can't remember, and it's on my phone, and my phone is filming right now, so I won't be able to tell you at the moment. Cool to see them though. Haven't seen them for a little bit here. This is the area where you're gonna see most likely interesting smaller birds, if you're gonna see any. Somebody came through here. I am thinking it's the pheasant, the ringneck pheasant. There was a little porcupine hanging out in here earlier in the week. Oh, I think he's still there. Let's see. No, just the way that the leaves were, or the branches were thick right there, I thought maybe that's the porcupine, but no. We got a pretty close-up look at him the other day though. It's the younger one. Too sleepy to even care much that I was on site. There's somebody in this tree. Who is that? Is that another junco? I don't think so. light belly, dark top. Huh. Not sure. Might have taken off. Didn't look big enough to be a nuthatch. Not sure who that was. Should we go all the way up and see the yucca? Might as well. Only at 16 minutes in. "16 minutes and some very cold fingers." Even though I'm wearing gloves, still fairly cold. There's a flicker, northern flicker, right up there. And you can hear some chucks of a ringneck pheasant up this way. Might run into him eventually. Just blowing hot air into my hand. Yeah, my fingers are getting cold, and the back of my heels are getting cold because these gum boots have been split forever on the back heels, and I don't wear socks, so it's just like exposed skin to the snow down there. But in this kind of cold, it's tolerable, you know. When it gets like 15, 20 below, it's a different story. I gotta start stuffing grass in there. So pretty soon, this little slope of this old coal slag stuff that I'm walking over here is gonna be popping with golden bean sprouts. It's one of the early and significant flowers that come out here. Saskatoon buds were coming pretty close to popping the other day too. The little flower buds. Usually the first tree or bush of any kind to flower here is the bullberry. And right after it, you get Saskatoon. Yeah, that pheasant is down somewhere in the owlwood down there. I can hear him. There's probably a few of them. It's a little chilly, yep. A little chilly. Looking forward to doing a walk and talk here, this same route tomorrow morning with Carol. Haven't had a chance to catch up with her yet. Hi from sunny Scotland. Oh, you guys are on lockdown. Well, we're pretty much on lockdown here too, but we still got some liberties. I mean, we're basically told stay home, but we're allowed to come out here into the nature parks. We're allowed to go grocery shopping, you know, go do essential things, but otherwise we're supposed to stay home. They haven't really started enforcing yet, much other than restrictions on group size, but I think we might start seeing more enforcement coming up here pretty soon. The one thing I wish is that I wished everybody wore masks at the grocery store, you know, or any place where you're around products that other people are gonna buy. You know, not for self-protection, but just to minimize as much as we can the the exchange of spit particles, you know. People here have not adopted the mask yet. And it's an interesting point to say that, you know, one of the reasons that people are reluctant to adopt the masks is because it just doesn't fit right with the culture. You know, it's egocentric culture, and it's very sociocentric to be concerned enough about your fellow citizens that you'll wear a mask, you know, to make sure you're not, just in case you're sick, you're not spreading anything to them. Everybody looks more at the masks as a personal protection device, which is not the point, I don't think. Speaking moistly, exactly. Lots of biodiversity underneath the high-level bridge here. Any chance that the coulee plants have to take advantage of shade, you know, they do it. Makes for good berry thickets too. Somebody mentioned that they got to go metal detecting because of the lockdown. Yeah, I guess it's a good time for all that kind of stuff, eh? Get right into the... I don't know, here you wouldn't be able to access some of the parks and stuff where you might... Some of the city recreation parks where you might find the most loot, you know? We'll see. We're just about to cross the main trail down from Heritage. Yes, I can see the chat. And you're free to throw me questions or ideas or things to comment on. This is the benefit of doing this live, is that we can have a conversation. Yeah, this is the main trail here, leading in and out of Heritage, so nobody's come down from these neighborhoods yet today, except for this deer. It must have been later last night. Domestic scanatony. Itam ixcanatony. Happy morning. That's why I say good morning right after it. It's an English translation. Well, here's the yucca. Looking all pretty yellowed. Green leaves on this one came off. I don't know why it happened. Happened on this plant here. Happened a little bit on this plant here. Gonna see what develops of that this season. Here is the view. There's a goose acting strange. There's still... Walked down by the weir yesterday and never realized you could see Rust Rock from that side. Now I pretty much know how to get there. Yeah. Yeah, you can, especially in the winter here like this. Oh, look at this raven. He's got something. What's he got? He had something large in his mouth. Yeah, in the winter here you can see Rust Rock really good from a lot of angles. I don't know if he's got a mouse or what he's got. He's got something. That raven. Yeah, there's still some geese like this that are perching in high places. That's a phenomenon that starts happening at right before the nesting. And I never know if they're just surveying the area for their nests or what, but... Oh, here comes a hawk, I think. And the ravens are chucking about it. Where's that hawk? There he is. Ravens nest here at the high level bridge. So for them, this is a potential nest predator. One time I was peeking into a magpie nest down on the wet meadows, and I didn't even know it. Mahoney told me afterward, because she was standing a ways off. There was a Swenson's hawk that came down and just like hovered closely over my head, like so close I could have probably touched it, she said, watching what I was doing. And of course, soon all the eggs from that nest were taken. So I basically just showed the hawk the way. That's the downside to poking around and paying attention out here, even just where you walk. You know, a coyote might trail where you walk, and if you're intuitive or not intuitive, what would you call it? If you're asking enough questions and poking around enough, then you're gonna run into stuff, and whatever predators decide to trail you like that are gonna run into the same. Looks like here there was a large rabbit. One of the white-tailed jackrabbits. Oh my God, it's just the big rabbit. It's a deer that walked through here. So what is lockdown like in Scotland, if you're still on there, Scotland? Yeah, I'm growing more and more concerned about the economic impact of what we're doing here. I contacted my boss, so to speak, my main client for Samus, to ask whether I could use the studio and have yeah, the phone has reset, so I probably got, you know, maybe 3 of these walks that I can do in the month. I'll space them out. Yeah, I contacted the director of Samus, the organization that hired me to run that program, the Arts and Entrepreneur Program, and I asked whether I could bring some of the graduates from the last round into the studio and make use of the sewing machines and such, and start producing consumer quality masks and these kind of things. And I was told that the liability is it's too dangerous for, they don't want the liability for bringing people into the studio like that. I can let a few of the ladies maybe use sewing machines at home, borrow them while we don't have another program starting yet, and make some use of them, but they don't want us actually gathering in the studio. Please just checking car movement, stopping random, asking where you're going. Huh. Yeah, that level hasn't started here yet, but I wouldn't doubt it if it gets there eventually. All of the world seems to pretty much be following suit with one another. And the stricter police enforcement of isolation has been cropping up here and there. So I wouldn't doubt if we see it here. I think at least because of my work with the wildlife, I'll still have some access to visit the coulees under certain circumstances, but I am concerned that they're going to close this off. Yeah, young ones, young people. That's the problem, hey? The other day when I took the kids down to Rust Rock here, there were a couple of Beavis and Buttheads up there, you know? Totally nonchalantly climbing all over the thing, and obviously not a concern in the world for getting sick or transmitting the sickness. Just across the river there used to be a Sundance grounds. There's at least one really good black and white photo showing an old Sundance camp, a photo taken from somewhere up on the coulee rim on that other side. I still have to make my this is Blackfoot territory video. What do we got here? I think this was the Raven. I think it's a pretty big feat. It's either the Raven or it's a pheasant. Sorry if you're getting some of that wind. Wind just picked up a little bit right in here. We'll drop down to the owl wood pretty soon, so should block out the wind when we get there. The water's starting to brown up from silt because of melt off and such. Got a loner out there. Might be a merganser. Hard for me to tell from where I'm at without a pair of binoculars, but it's got kind of a merganser length to it. It might be a grebe. Goose domain down here now. Everyone trying to use the bridge anchors as nesting islands. geese sit in their nests, just gotta sit down and deal with it. Snow's not going away. Where do the American pelicans roost? They mostly hang out on the shoreline by the University Weir. This time of the season, sometimes you'll find them hanging out on any of the river islands, you know, even up toward the Highway 3 bridge and such. The geese don't like them though. The geese will chase them off if they get too close to any of the nesting grounds. Killdeer out there. Yeah, the pelicans are a potential nest predator. I've never seen them actually steal an egg, but I see enough response from the geese chasing them away to let me know that, yeah, these guys are trouble for the geese. But mostly they just eat the minnows over by the weir, so that's where you find them. I've never come across a pelican nest here. I think they normally communally nest on islands, but at least I haven't found any down there by the weir ever. This is all pheasant activity, probably those ones we were listening to earlier. You bet. Pelicans have a bunch of different Blackfoot names. I think one of them is like Ai Sipisa. He's a magpie looking chill. Well, what's up there, bird? There he is. There's another magpie up this way. Where is he? There he is. bugged him too much. Waiting for the day I walk through this forest and see owls again. Used to be a very predictable thing. Hence, I call it the owl wood, but not since the residing couple died. That's that pheasant. Oh, there's a porcupine. Don't know if I'll be able to get a good shot of him because he's way up high, but yeah, that's right, bungee skunk. My animal work is essential service, so I will still have at least that much access to the coulees to be going in and out, releasing snakes, small mammals. I should still be able to carry out my beaver studies. Oh, you bet. Thank you for watching. I just had a little thanks message. Yeah, I should still be able to carry out my studies of the beaver throughout Lethbridge. So there's a lot of rationale for me to continue accessing the coulees, even if they close the parks. But I'll have to always be down here with a purpose, you know. A purpose other than just let's wander around and see what the world has to teach today. There's a deer down here. But yeah, I am glad for that. The wildlife work will at least keep me having some access to these areas in spite of whatever craziness ensues. Well, you know, I think if people just took it upon themselves to try to minimize the dangers for others, then we wouldn't have any worry. But a few bad apples can spoil the whole party, you know. I was saying I also think that we should, even though we're in isolation, we should really start getting to work, trying to reorganize and reconfigure and reimagine what our economic life is going to be like, because I don't think we're going back to the normal base we had. Common sense has to creep in. Yeah, it's just the shift in the mind from being protective for yourself to being protective of other people. So your main worry should be not spreading anything yourself, you know. Extending closures till April 23rd here. Yeah, they, you know, a lot of stuff is kind of closed indefinitely here in Alberta. I know the city of Lethbridge just extended its state of emergency for 90 days, I think, something like that. But yeah, I think getting somehow starting to reconfigure and get back to work, like I was thinking, you know, why can't my program be running right now? I can still, hey Stephanie, I'm hearing your comments. Stay home, order still in effect, rats. Yeah, I was thinking, you know, why can't my program run right now? And I could just do, you know, some video sessions in terms of teaching the clients or students or artisans and such. And then the family could train too, because everybody's got kids at home, hey? Kids could be learning these arts that I have in my program. And we don't need to have the studio open to do that. But we could use the studio as a filming studio for the instructors, you know. It's another porcupine here. This is probably the little guy that we saw at the South Pond a couple of days ago. Yeah, a lot of stuff is going to be moving to online. So rather than just sitting around living off welfare all summer, like maybe we should start doing that. Yeah, the wildlife coming into or behaving differently in the urban areas is interesting. Lots of businesses, people doing lives, lots of new ways to reinvent what we were doing before to make do now. Yeah. I'm just concerned that, like, what are we gonna, we're gonna lock ourselves in for the summer. The summer is the part where we need to be out and like producing food and working hard to preserve food, because, you know, I don't know about you guys, when I walk in the grocery store these days, it gets more and more scary, the idea that food scarcity could become a real thing, especially if production is minimized for the summer. The summer is when we need to do that stuff. I mean, I guess because we got a global trade network to kind of depend on, we can make use of tropical climates and stuff. That's what we typically would do for, you know, you can buy bananas all year round, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't trust all that to still be there through if food scarcity becomes an issue, man. You're gonna want to have spent some time this summer preparing for that. But yeah, I don't like the idea. I don't like the idea of sitting around on welfare all summer and then going into the winter and trying to turn things around. Your farmers are short berry pickers? Yeah, I bet. That's the other thing, hey? The whole labor force that typically, you know, operates in some of the farms is not going to be there this year. Who's gonna get the yuppie teenagers to come out and pick I don't think so. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing a lot of canning, I think, this summer. That's my goal, is to can the heck out of stuff and make some kind of food supply for the in case of for winter. Yeah, starting a 4-month off period, government sponsored 4 months of no work for a lot of people in Canada, at least. Starting that off in summer, I think, is not I mean, I know people need money to pay their bills right now and stuff. I get that, but then what do we do after that? You know, we come into winter. That's usually when work slows down for a lot of people here. It's going to be pretty tough not taking advantage of the summer season and then expecting to make it through the winter. I don't know. That's the kind of stuff that has me a little on edge. That's a good question, Stephanie. Are the people who are working as farm hands allowed to return to work? I would think so, because it's essential work. Yeah, they're essential services. Yeah, exactly. But then, you know, what if your essential workers on your strawberry farm in the Willamette Valley is a bunch of guys that come up from Guatemala every year? You know, that's not happening this year. No, exactly. So there's a lot of, like, you know, people aren't going to be picking up their farmhands at Home Depot or whatever. Not this year. So where's all that? Who's going to fill all those extra workplaces? I used to pick strawberries when I was a teenager. Oh yeah, gardening classes today. Yeah, they could hire locals if locals were willing to do the work. That's the big question, hey? Yeah, if locals are willing to do the work, then it's a non-issue. But if everybody's getting paid through the summer off government welfare, I don't know. Willing is the key, exactly. Like if I'm making $2,000 off government welfare, or I could be making $2,000 working my ass off all day, I don't know, I might take the government welfare, you know? This is what I'm worried about in terms of the summer economics of this thing. We're supporting everybody to stay home as we move into the harvest season. mean, already there's shortages of different products, unlike, you know, I've ever seen at the supermarkets and stuff. And that's just gonna, I think, get worse, right? Yeah, there's some really nice, this place is very picturesque. Anyway, I don't want to be all doom and gloom. I got to get my positive head on my shoulders about the whole thing too. And like I say, start hustling now rather than just waiting, you know, figure out ways to reconfigure. And oh, we got peoples and off-leash dogs on bikes. They're breaking all the rules. Good. Give them their plenty of space. I know it. That's all right though. See ya. Yeah, there's like, thanks, Stephanie. We'll talk to you later if you're leaving. Yeah, there's only a few rules to this place. It's like no fishing, no dogs, no bikes. Skunks and raccoons will love you to rescue them from the unknown fate. Yeah, it's gonna be weird. I've already seen in the last week a reluctance, like people are worried about their money, you know, and people have been calling with skunk issues, but when they hear that the city's not sponsoring the removal of the small mammals, that they have to pay for it themselves, they're backing off. 2 out of 3. Yeah, for the rules. Yeah, so I'm thinking I'm gonna have less skunk business because people don't have the disposable income, you know, to hire me. Sorry if you guys are getting a lot of wind here. It seems like every time we're up on the levee like this, we get the wind. Yeah, it'll be curious to see how this whole thing affects my my wildlife work. If more of the animals start moving about the urban landscape visibly in ways that they didn't before, then it might see something happen there, which is not unimaginable at all. Yeah, I try not to bother geese on their nests when the weather's like this. I've just had too many experiences in the past feeling like maybe, you know, I was the last straw the goose was hanging on by a thread, incubating her nest in the cold weather, and then I came and chased her off for a few minutes and then she just gave up, you know. I don't know if that's ever actually happened, but I know that nests that I've visited in the cold like this, next time I've come around to them, have been destroyed. So it's not unusual with nests in general, though. A little wind gust there. Crawdads should be dropping their eggs now. I've done big crawdad harvests this time of year, and usually the females are just full of eggs. Unfortunately, you don't get a whole lot of meat off the little crawdads that we have here. So I'll do it once in a while just for the experience and the keeping that practice going, but it's usually not worth the energy expended. How much snow did you get? I don't know. This is not much. This is not much snow. A couple of centimeters. You can kind of gauge the depth on these logs, I guess. So about maybe 2 inches of snow, something like that. Not too much. I bet in 3 or 4 days it'll all be gone. As long as it's cold through the weekend, keep most people inside. I'm surprised we didn't see any deer anywhere along the way. Not even much for deer prints. Speaking of deer prints, there's one headed that way somewhere. I think. We'll go down on the little dock quick. Not that I think we'll see anybody down there. Stephanie's back. Santa reindeer living next door to your house. Oh, you're on Dieppe Boulevard. Yeah. That's where my friend Carol lives. She's got a little bit of property behind her house with some trees, and she gets a lot of deer. She's your neighbor? Right on. Yeah, it should be I should be walking this whole route with Carol tomorrow morning. Haven't touched base with her for a month. The secret garden. Yeah, she's got a nice little piece of property there. She has to fight tooth and nail for. Yeah, for sure. I'll tell her. Well, I'm glad you got her back, because not all the neighbors do, you know. There are some neighbors, I understand, unhappy about the situation. Just consider her garden a nuisance. Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, she hasn't, it's been a couple of years. I know she had at one point, my friend Dave Henley from City Bylaw Enforcement was, because somebody had called, went out there and checked out her property. Yeah, urban deer do love bird feeders. Most of the urban animals love bird feeders, including rattlesnakes, deer, skunk, jays. Yeah, everybody will come to those feeders. Some of them to feed off the seed, some of them to feed off of what's feeding off the seed. Yeah, it's a good time to be studying and paying attention to urban wildlife. Just popped out this way to look in the reeds here, so you never know what you're gonna see. Not much today though, at least above the surface. All right, so nearing the end of our walk this morning, not far from the parking lot now. Yeah, I think I'll do maybe 2 or 3 of these live walks a month, whatever my data plan will allow me to manage. I think I get something like 10 gigabytes of really high speed per month, and then unlimited data at a reduced speed after that. You can see the remains of the old boardwalk that used to be here. A lot of the old planks are still floating around the pond here. They stack up on this north end because this is the downriver side. The pond still feeds in and out of the river as an oxbow underground. awesome area to take images. Yeah, photographers love it here, for sure. I used to do a lot of photography. I have a nice camera. I went from blogging my field notes out here and using still images with the blog to eventually just video recording instead. And I find the video recording, of course, is not like as pretty most of the time, but it's more real, more natural, and what would you call it? Unabridged. I like the unabridged version of the wild. Including the human wild. Okay. Atomic skenotany. Join the two ideas. Yeah. Oh, who we got here? I think we got more juncos in here. All right, guys. Well, so that's gonna be a wrap for this morning's walk, dawn patrol. Yeah, I like doing these live ones, so we'll do these once in a while. There's a few comments coming over now. Let's see. Hard to read my screen and stay shaded. Take care for the walk. Oh yeah. Yeah, Saya are back for sure. Lots of them. We were looking at some of them this morning. Well, you can go back and check it out. I tend to get out here early when I have the chance. So maybe I'll give some update in one of my videos this week about when I'm actually gonna do the next live one, so that people that want to join in can wake up early. Thanks, Stephanie, and everybody that checked it out, tuned in. Hope you're enjoying your morning. Stay safe. Stay away from the Rona. Talk to you again. Get 'em at Sinachboa.